What you're witnessing right now is official War Thunder media. Gaijin must be getting very low on cash since Goonbait is back on the menu. For a small price of $70, you get a copy-pasted tank, but it has a custom anime girl crew voice. That's awesome. The trailer for this shameless cash grab is also surprisingly well made, and you can tell they put a decent amount of effort into it. And then you look at the brand new trailer for the actual game itself, and it is as boring as ever. New planes flying around, doing something. But there is actually a single part of this trailer that's a bit unique. Can you guess what it is? Well, of course, it's the showcase of the brand new $80 F-14D Tomcat Premium. Get your wallets out, fellas, because Gaijin is getting desperate. You know, they say War Thunder is like a toxic relationship. You realize it's bad for you, and you know you should definitely break up with her and move on, but even though it's nothing but frustration, you stay together because of those extremely rare moments of genuine fun. Now, while I see the idea, for me War Thunder is something else. Unlike a lot of the player base, I've never had a toxic relationship with this game. I was never addicted to the grind and only played for fun, and often took long breaks whenever the game started getting old. To me, War Thunder is that old friend that you've known for many years and had so much fun together back during the good old days. But as time went on, you saw this friend become someone you don't recognize anymore. You can still get together and hang out, but it's just not the same. That friend is now kind of an asshole, is plagued by countless health problems, keeps talking about questionable anime content, tries to get you to buy something from them, and takes pictures of your screen for whatever reason. You still feel nostalgic about the fun you had back in the day, but you understand that it's not going to happen again, as this is not the same person you once knew, and it's time to move on. This is what I would like to talk about today. The latest video on my channel, which is 2 months old at this point, is about the Nuclear Thunder April Fool's event, which became my personal breaking point in War Thunder. I put hope in the thumbnail, but I should have known better. The thing you need to understand is that prior to this event, most of my enthusiasm towards War Thunder has already evaporated over the years of horrible updates and a clear lack of effort on Gaijin's part. I've talked about most of it at this point, things like the outdated air RP game mode, lack of proper balancing, and gun damage that kept getting broken over and over again pushed me away as an air player. And yes, I was aware of the tank problems as well, but those didn't affect me personally. So, since I stopped having fun playing the game, I began talking more and more about miscellaneous stuff. The weirdos, the hackers, the racists, the PDF files, and other Gaijin failures. I know this alienated a lot of my longtime viewers who expected more gameplay-oriented content, but I just couldn't stand the gameplay anymore. But then, out of nowhere, Gaijin dropped the Nuclear Thunder game mode as a limited time event. You have to understand that, to me, this was a spark of hope in complete darkness. I was a hollow, and Nuclear Thunder restored my humanity. It was so important because of the biggest problem of air gameplay in War Thunder, the fact that ARP is so hopelessly outdated. At a glance, you might think it's fine, but there's nothing fine about it. Every map is the same. You get a few invincible airfields, and so does the enemy. You get 4 bases, and so does the enemy. And that's the case with everything. AI tanks and planes, artillery and pillboxes. It's all mirrored. You might think any of these things matter, but no. Bombing bases does nothing, and AI units destroying each other does nothing either. So if you want to achieve a ground victory, you need to wipe out every single unit yourself. That's not happening. This means that the only real way of achieving victory is killing all enemy players, and that's exactly what the mode is. A glorified deathmatch where fighters rule supreme, ground attack aircraft are useless, and the only thing that matters is the number of player kills next to your name. But here came Nuclear Thunder, and it promised to fix all of these problems and bring on a new era of air gameplay. At the most basic level, this mode allowed you to respawn if you died, which meant that just killing enemy players was no longer a win condition. Instead of a few immortal airfields, the new map had 6 on each side, and they could all be destroyed. This meant that you could actually push the enemy back by going after airfields, which gave you a feeling of making real progress. The AI ground units also became actually relevant to the match. Tanks, IFVs, and SPAAs would spawn from depots and try to push into enemy territory to destroy everything in their path. You could either protect your own units and buildings in air superiority fighters, or actively go after enemy units and depots in ground attack aircraft. That would not only stop enemy AI from spawning, but also opened new paths for other players on your team if you could take out the anti-air emplacements. Basically, the structure of this mode promised to make things that happen on the ground actually matter for the outcome of the match, and give ground attack aircraft a real purpose and impact, as well as make every game feel like an actual battle instead of a chaotic deathmatch. And that was the theory, but in practice things turned out a little different. While the mode was a breath of fresh air and definitely fun, it did have plenty of problems, and I've said as much in my initial video. The biggest problem by far was the anti-air. While it was a cool concept, in practice there was so much anti-air on the map that your radar warning receiver would scream at you all the time non-stop. Unless you were hugging the ground, you couldn't fly for 10 seconds without at least one AA locking onto you and launching missiles. You could avoid it by flanking along the edges of the map, but overall it was just too overwhelming, especially for newer players who had no idea how to defend against AA missiles. But the problems didn't end there. Gaijin also gave AA systems the ability to intercept your munitions, so missiles, bombs, and everything of that sort. Again, while this is a neat concept, it also made ground attack aircraft useless once again. If you wanted to go after ground targets on your own, you simply couldn't do anything. AA systems would shoot down everything you launched at them, which meant you had to use either guns or a swarm of unguided rockets. If you tried that, you had to get so close that you simply had no way to survive the attack, as you would be obliterated at such short ranges. If not by missiles, then by aimbot cannon SPAA. And even if you managed to destroy something, both depots and AA would respawn after a few minutes, rendering your efforts pointless. Because of this, what ended up happening is nobody played the ground attack aircraft once again, since there was just no point. People spawned their best air superiority fighters, hugged the ground to avoid the SAM systems, and yeah, it was just deathmatch once again. Going after ground targets made no sense, so people killed each other over and over again until they got access to nukes, which they then used to destroy airfields and win the game. Not ideal, but it was still fun. So that's what Nuclear Thunder was on release. An awesome idea with some problems that had to be fixed for it to be truly good. And again, I was full of enthusiasm and trusted Gaijin to do the right thing. That was so stupid of me. A few days after I made that video, Gaijin started tweaking this mode. Or I should say they saw how popular it was and decided that players shouldn't be able to have fun in their game. They are truly talented when it comes to turning good ideas into pure shit. To address how oppressive the AA was, they said they added a reload mechanic to them, so they wouldn't be able to fire non-stop. That's what they said, but what they actually did was insane. After the update, the AA units started firing faster than before. Actually, faster is the wrong word for it. SPAAs started launching missiles in full auto, intercepting any amount of aircraft and munitions with ease. The promised reload mechanic was nowhere to be seen. As if that wasn't enough, Gaijin also buffed their ability to track you. Before the update, AA could already see you through trees, which was kind of unfair, but after the update, they started tracking you through terrain. Even if you broke line of sight by hiding behind hills, which should have definitely prevented raiders from locking you, AA would still track you and kill you, because Gaijin is a very competent developer. Additionally, they rebalanced the amount of points you get from kills. Rewards for killing other players got reduced, nuke prices got increased, but they also buffed the rewards for destroying ground targets. So let me break this down. Gaijin saw that players mostly engaged in PvP instead of PvE as a way to get nukes. This was because AA was overpowered, and trying to go after ground units was simply too hard. This wasn't a secret or anything. Everybody was complaining about AA and its ability to intercept munitions. So instead of addressing the core of the problem and nerfing AAs so that people could actually use ground attackers, Gaijin increased PvE rewards, nerfed the PvP rewards, and buffed the SAM systems. Why? PvE was still impossible, even with increased rewards. PvP remained the only way to play, but now with pitiful rewards, and SAM systems continued to terrorize the player base, now to an even higher degree. The only way to explain this is Gaijin simply wanted you to earn less while playing this mode. Less RP, less SL, and less score, so it would take you longer to grind for TU95 and B52. As always, every Gaijin decision can be explained by a desire to shit on the players. Once I saw all this, I was done with War Thunder. The one thing that finally gave me hope for this game got butchered almost immediately because people were having too much fun. It is almost impressive how Gaijin can only make something good by accident, and once they realize their mistake, they make it a priority to enshitify that good thing ASAP. It's like they are trying to uphold their reputation as a terrible developer by any means necessary. Now, that wasn't the end of Nuclear Thunder. They promised this mode would come back, and in fact they talked about it on the most recent developer stream. BVVD said that it's coming back very soon, and this time it's going to be for top-tier aircraft. But I don't care anymore. To me, it is now crystal clear that whatever they do to this mode is going to suck. Yes, I'm sure there will be improvements, and one day it may even become a permanent game mode, but I have no doubt that they will do their absolute best to make it as miserable as humanly possible. And so that's the end of the road for me. After 12 years of playing this game and 2 years of making content, I no longer feel anything towards it. I made these videos to try and highlight the biggest issues of War Thunder so they could be fixed, but Gaijin has definitively proven that it's a waste of time. In fact, let's go down the memory lane and see if Gaijin addressed any of the gameplay issues that I've covered in my videos. Starting with the very first one, War Thunder is designed to make you stupid. The main point of that video is that while War Thunder has fantastic marketing, the new player experience is absolutely horrendous, especially when it comes to aircraft. I think most of you will agree when I say that air combat is very hard to get into, compared to something like tanks. It's not intuitive at all, so getting better at it requires actually studying how it works if you want to do well. And you do want to do well because your rewards are tied directly to your individual performance in games. So, does War Thunder teach you air combat? No, it does not. All it has is a series of pathetic, barely functional tutorial missions that don't help in any capacity. Has the situation improved since then? No, absolutely not. Gaijin didn't do anything to improve the new player experience for aircraft enjoyers. So for most people, air combat is still an enigma. Well done, Gaijin. Next is infinite problems of War Thunder tanks. In that video, I highlighted 3 separate issues that, in my opinion, make tank modes an absolute chore to play. The first one is aircraft. It is pretty funny to complain about planes in tank modes, but that's just how it is. Aircraft are a plague upon tank modes. They are easily accessible and they demolish tanks without giving them a chance to fight back. The only thing that can stop aircraft is anti-air, but unless you are using a highly advanced SPAA, you need very good aim to be able to intercept planes before they can wipe out your team. And that's if you don't get wiped out yourself. Now, while you can argue about plane balance, at the most basic level, it's just not fun to get bombed in tank modes, which you play to drive tanks and shoot other tanks. Has Gaijin done anything about this problem? Surprisingly, they did address it. Kind of. A year ago or so, they increased the amount of spawn points you need to spawn aircraft. While this doesn't fix the baseline problem of planes dominating tank modes, it's something at least. The second issue was objectives. Ever since tanks came out in 2015, the only objective in Tank RB has been capture points. So for 11 years now, all tank players had to do, outside of shooting each other, was stand in circles until they're captured. Wow. While I'm sure some people enjoy the simplicity of it, having capture points as your only objective in your most popular game mode is downright embarrassing. What about attack/defend scenarios? Escort? Capture the flag? Anything? No? I guess not. Have they done anything to improve this? No, absolutely not. Tank RB is still a brain-dead game mode, just like Air RB. I guess air and tank players aren't so different after all. The final thing I mentioned in the video is just how awful the grind is in Tank RB in comparison to Air RB. In Air, if you're a decent player, you can actually play for free until you get to jets, and still have a good time. Tank grind though? Jesus Christ. The rewards are absolutely horrible even with premium account. You need to buy and crew multiple tanks per rank as you want to have a lineup, which also means you need to upgrade multiple crew slots. And the cherry on top is the god-awful grind for modules. Unlike in planes, you do want those upgrades, as you often start with pathetic stock shells that either cannot penetrate anything or do no damage. Has Gaijin done anything to improve all of this? Absolutely not. I have a suspicion that this tank grind torture is a core element of their strategy to extract money from you, so I don't think it will ever improve. Sorry, tank players. Next is Bomber Problem of War Thunder, an ARB focused video which I made as a response to a change that massively nerfed the ticket drain from bombing bases, which effectively made this activity completely pointless for winning the match. So for context, in the early days of War Thunder, bombers were insanely overpowered. They were as tanky as an actual tank, they had aimbot gunners, and they could win by bombing. So unless you could stop them, they would often win games by destroying bases and then the airfield. Since then, Gaijin has made them as tough as a paper towel, nerfed gunners into the ground, and crucially, removed their win condition. They can no longer win by bombing, as bases drain almost no tickets, and airfields are now practically immortal on most maps. So these days, bombers are dead weight. They don't help you win the game, and they don't help you kill enemies. All they do is take up a player slot and sometimes team kill each other, or climb to space and sit there, because they can't do anything else. Has Gaijin done anything to help this class of aircraft become relevant again? No, they don't care. I am sorry, bomber mains, but I don't think your favorite aircraft will ever be good in this game. Next is how Zero breaks War Thunder. The gist of this video is me highlighting how planes with good turn times, like Zeros and Spitfires, dominate the game as they are very good at killing inexperienced players. And it just so happens that War Thunder doesn't teach you air combat, so 95% of air players are inexperienced. I have already talked about this though, so I want to cover a different topic from this video, the way Gaijin balances vehicles. Now, you would assume vehicle balance is done based on vehicle capabilities, so for example looking at speed, retention, turn, and climb rates, as well as the armament. However, Gaijin balances almost exclusively using statistics. 99% of the time, the only factor that decides whether a vehicle gets its BR increased or decreased are the player stats, fed into the algorithm. Specifically, RP and SL gain. The more a vehicle earns on average, the higher the chance that it will go up in BR. This creates a situation where very strong vehicles can become under-tiered because the average player doesn't know how to use them. Okay vehicles can become over-tiered just because of popularity, and awful vehicles don't get their BR adjusted at all because there is no data, since nobody plays them. So, did Gaijin do anything? No, obviously not. And I don't think they even consider this an issue because this saves them a lot of time and money. After all, why would they balance vehicles individually when they can just feed the data into the algorithm and have it do all the work for them? Simple as that. Next is Secrets and Lies of War Thunder, which was more of an informational video, but it did highlight just how hard it is to find accurate information in War Thunder. Aircraft stat cards are the easiest, most well-known example, as those are notoriously useless for judging real in-game performance. There's also plenty of obscure mechanics that are just not explained at all, like manual engine controls, or the mechanic that determines the velocity of the entire ammo belt based on the velocity of the first shell in it. It's never mentioned and never explained, even though on some guns it makes a huge difference. You could be nerfing yourself just because you are using the wrong belt. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, really. There is so much stuff that is simply not explained, and you have to go looking for it elsewhere. Has Gaijin done anything about it? In a way, yes. The stat cards have gotten a tiny bit better, though they are still mostly useless. The game did get a new tool that allows you to simulate gunshots to check ballistics, and according to Gaijin, a similar tool for missiles is also coming. So that's nice and all, but too little too late at this point. The game has been out for 14 years now, so this doesn't even qualify as bare minimum anymore. Next are the two videos about the War Thunder wiki. I will only mention these briefly as these are not a part of the game. The first wiki had loads of pages on just about anything, but in terms of quality it was a minefield. You could stumble upon a really good page, or upon something that was written by a person that gets 1 kill every 10 games. Not exactly an ideal situation. The second wiki was meant to improve upon the first one, but what it did instead was just wipe everything. All the pages and articles got annihilated, and the new vehicle pages are empty husks with just stat card info and nothing else. There is a separate tab for user-written articles, but those are almost non-existent. Nobody cares at this point. So, has Gaijin done something about it? No, they haven't. To this day, this wiki is still a disgrace that provides zero value. Next, free-to-play game that you cannot afford. This one covered all the possible ways to spend money in War Thunder and how much most of them suck. But I would like to focus on the biggest one, the marketplace. As I've said in that video, the vehicle marketplace is essentially just a prison for content. If you browse it these days, it has so many vehicles that would be amazing to have in the game itself, accessible to players for free, or at least for a reasonable price. Instead, for 99% of players, marketplace stuff is just completely inaccessible. The vehicles might be cool, but who's gonna pay $100+ for a singular tank or plane, which are usually not even premiums? At the end of the day, the marketplace is just another attempt at making you spend money on the game, as Gaijin wanted to have their own Steam marketplace in War Thunder, and I guess they got it. And at this point, they will obviously never get rid of it. Next is anti-social design of War Thunder. This video is about ARB specifically, as tank modes aren't as bad in this regard. The TLDR is that when you play ARB, there is absolutely no reason for you to care about your team or work with them, as the only thing that matters is the amount of kills you get. As I've said, bombers are useless, so there is no reason to protect them. Attackers aren't much better, so you might as well just let them die. Friendly fighters are valuable, but do you really want to keep them around? Most people play this game just to grind, and if you want to grind, getting kills for yourself is how you do it. Kills is what gives you the most RP and SL, and even winning doesn't matter all that much. All you need is kill. With that in mind, it's not only the bombers and attackers that you want to sacrifice, but also the friendly fighters. They are your competition when it comes to killing the enemy, so you want to set them up for failure. That's just how it goes. So, after 14 years of ARB, has Gaijin done anything to promote teamwork? No, they haven't. In fact, they only made it worse by reducing the rewards for winning and making bombers useless. Well done, Gaijin. Next, this video. You know what's up, and you've seen the new stuff at the beginning of this video. If you don't like this, I have very bad news for you. This is only the beginning, and we will see more and more of such content in the future. Like it or not, this is where the money is. War Thunder Live is bursting with skins and reticles that would get you demonetized in 5 seconds. And these official anime tanks are selling like hotcakes. You better be ready, because the flood is coming, and there is no escape. The last video I want to mention is the death of World War II gameplay in War Thunder. That one hurts the most, because World War II content is why I played this game, especially so back in the day. The biggest point of that video is that air maps used to be very memorable. They were made based on real-life battles and had so much variety between them. Norway, Saipan, Wake Island, the English Channel, they were all so different and so cool. Since then, most of these maps were either removed or lobotomized. Because you now only have 30 minutes instead of an hour, the maps that still remain don't function properly, so there's no real point to them. Now, you could, of course, say that Nuclear Thunder is supposed to once again make air battles interesting, like in the old days. I've already explained why this is unlikely to happen, but there's also a much bigger problem. Gaijin likely won't add a mode like this for World War II vehicles. If I had to guess, this game mode will be purely for jets, and even then I doubt that Korean-era stuff will be included. So if you are a World War II enjoyer like me, there is really no future for us in this game. Gaijin only cares about modern aircraft at this point. Nothing else matters. So, with all this in mind, I just see no reason to care about this game anymore. This is something I said in one of my first videos.
I am making these videos to try and wake you up, to show you that the game can be improved, the problems can be fixed, we just need to force Gaijin to work on it, and that is my message.
Yeah, I do not believe this anymore. It doesn't matter how much we whine and complain. At this point, Gaijin will never listen to anything players have to say, unless the game fails. Until then, there's just no point. And if you think that you can influence them by review bombing like in 2023, well, I hate to disappoint, but it's not going to work again. Not this time. Back then, they got caught off guard. They have never experienced anything like this before, so they panicked and had to actually improve the game, at least for a little while. If you do this again, this time they will be ready. They will post AI-generated apologies, promise to listen to you and make things better, and even post roadmaps. And hell, they might even do something nice to make you believe. But after a few months, they will just go back to business as usual. In fact, if I had to guess, they probably do have a plan on what to do in case of a review bombing. So again, don't count on it. It's not going to work twice in a row. So with all that said, what's going to happen to this channel? I am not entirely sure, but it's not looking great. And again, it's because I likely won't play War Thunder anymore. I had plans for more gameplay-focused guides. One about the Yak series of planes, one about how to play bombers effectively in the current ARB, and one about X-4 missiles. I even had a decent amount of footage for them, but the thing is, I scrapped all of them. I just don't care anymore. Will I cover War Thunder again? Probably, yeah. I don't want to abandon this channel, so I will cover future Gaijin failures every once in a while, but as for gameplay videos, yeah, don't expect those. I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. To wrap this up, I want to ask you, why do you play this game? What's exactly so special about it? Is playing your favorite IRL vehicle enough for you to ignore all the frustrations, horrible design, and the fact that this game tries to make you spend money every step of the way? Or do you perhaps believe that it will get better in the future? Well, good luck with that. Thank you very, very much to everyone who supported me on Patreon over these 2 years. Money don't grow on trees, so your contributions meant a lot. And if you choose to cancel right now, that's fine. Perhaps it is time for all of us to move on. And to everyone else, thank you very much for watching, and I will probably see you in the next video.